Welcome to Daily Stoic Practice, your compass to navigate the complexities of modern life with ancient wisdom. Have you ever been so angry that it felt like you lost control? Maybe because of someone's hurtful words or actions? Or have you had days when even a casual glance or an offhand comment made it seem like the world was against you? In today's high-pressure, fast-paced world, negative emotions can hit us like a whirlwind, from minor irritations to overwhelming anger. But here's the question. Is it possible to remain unshaken? To protect your peace no matter what anyone says or does? Can you live a calm, untroubled life, free from emotional entanglements caused by others? The answer lies in Stoicism, a profound and ancient philosophy. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca endured hardships beyond what most of us could imagine, yet they maintained a deep sense of tranquility. Their teachings offer timeless tools to help us not only master our emotions, but also reclaim control over our lives. Today, we'll uncover 7 practical Stoic methods that can help you avoid anger, stay centered, and live with unshakable peace. These are not abstract theories. They are actionable insights that can transform your life starting right now. Let's dive in. One of the cornerstones of Stoicism is accepting life as it is, not as we wish it to be. This principle invites us to let go of unnecessary resistance and face life's challenges with an open heart and mind. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully in Meditations. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people to whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. There is a story. In a small village nestled in the mountains, there lived a potter named Elias. Renowned for his beautiful clay pots, Elias was admired not only for his craftsmanship, but also for his calm demeanor. No matter what challenges came his way, he always seemed at peace, as if life's hardships flowed over him like water over a smooth stone. One day, a young man named Aaron visited Elias, in a state of frustration. "Master Elias," Aaron began, "I try so hard to control my life, but nothing goes as planned. Yesterday, a storm ruined my crops. Today, my horse ran away. Why does life test me at every turn?" Elias smiled and gestured for Aaron to follow him into the workshop. There, Elias pointed to a lump of clay on a wheel. "Watch closely," he said. Elias began to shape the clay. His hands moved with precision, but as he worked, the clay resisted, swaying unpredictably. Elias, however, did not resist. Instead, he adjusted the pressure of his touch, pressing lightly here, pulling gently there. Little by little, the clay transformed into a perfect vase. "Do you see?" Elias asked. "The clay has a mind of its own. If I tried to force it to behave the way I wanted it to, it would collapse. But by working with the clay rather than against it, I was able to create something beautiful." Aaron frowned. "But it was just clay. My problem was much bigger than a lump of dirt." Elias chuckled and led Aaron outside to a broken pot lying on the ground. "This was one of my first attempts," he said. "I insisted on forcing the clay to obey my will, ignoring its nature. The result, a pot that couldn't hold water." Aaron nodded, but still looked uncertain. Elias continued, "Life is like clay. It doesn't always follow our plans. The storm destroyed your crops, yes, but perhaps it cleared the way for something new to sprout. Your horse ran away, but what if it came back with a stronger horse? When you stop resisting and live life as it is, you will begin to see opportunity in every failure." Elias handed Aaron the newly completed jar. "Take it home," he said. "Whenever you feel disappointment creeping in, look at it and remember, life flows best when you let it flow." A few months later, Aaron returned to Elias with a big smile. He explained how he had begun to adapt to life's twists and turns. The storm had indeed created fertile soil, resulting in his best harvest ever. His horse had returned, and with it, a new foal. Aaron looked at the jar Elias handed him. "You are right, Master Elias. Life, like clay, becomes beautiful when we stop resisting it and work with what it gives us. Elias just smiled, his hands already shaping another jar. Acceptance is about realizing that we can't always control what happens, but we can control how we respond. When we stop resisting life, we free ourselves from the grip of frustration and open the door to peace, clarity, and resilience. Let life happen as it will, and embrace it with a willing heart. How often do you catch yourself thinking, this person is so annoying, or that one is completely untrustworthy? These judgments not only harm others, but also burden your own soul. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you always have the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. Once in a bustling city, there was a wise old monk named Master Lin. Known for his serene outlook, people often sought his advice. One day, a young man named Wei arrived, clearly agitated. Master Lin, Wei began, everywhere I go, people irritate me. There's the shopkeeper who's always rude, the neighbor who plays loud music, and the driver who cut me off this morning. How can I find peace in such a world? Master Lin listened patiently and then said, come, let's take a walk by the river. As they walked, they came across a fisherman struggling to carry a heavy net filled with stones and debris. He was sweating and straining, yet he refused to let go of the burden. Wei couldn't help but laugh. What is he doing? Wei exclaimed. Why doesn't he just leave the stones behind and carry only the fish? Master Lin smiled and replied, that fisherman is like you, Wei. You're carrying judgments about others, just as he's carrying those stones. Neither serves a purpose, yet both add unnecessary weight. Wei stopped laughing. But master, how can I not judge? When someone is rude or reckless, am I supposed to just ignore it? The monk gestured to the river flowing beside them. Tell me, Wei, when you see the river's water muddy after a rainstorm, do you judge it? No, of course not, Wei replied. It's just the way rivers are sometimes. Exactly, Master Lin said. People, like rivers, have their moments of turbulence. A rude shopkeeper may be carrying burdens you cannot see. The neighbor may play loud music because it's the only thing that drowns out their loneliness. The driver who cut you off may be rushing to something urgent. Their actions may not be right, but they are not for you to carry. Judging them only muddies your own mind. Wei looked thoughtful. But what if someone's behavior truly is harmful? Ah, Master Lin said, that is different. Address bad behavior when necessary, but do so without anger or assumption. Let your actions be guided by wisdom, not by judgment. Remember Marcus Aurelius, you always have the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. We nodded, beginning to understand. So when I judge someone, I'm really just adding unnecessary weight to my own heart. Exactly, Master Lin said. Let go of the stones in your net, and you'll find your journey through life much lighter. From that day forward, Wei practiced letting go of judgments. Whenever he felt irritation rise, he reminded himself of the river's muddy waters and chose instead to flow past them. Over time, he discovered the peace that comes from freeing himself of the weight he no longer needed to carry. Shifting your perspective can make life much lighter. Let go of unnecessary opinions, and you'll discover how freeing it is to stop carrying emotional weights that aren't yours. Frustration often arises when we cling to the belief that life should conform to our expectations. We want people to act a certain way, events to unfold as planned, and the world around us to remain steady and predictable. But the reality is, life is anything but predictable. It ebbs and flows, often in directions we cannot foresee or control. This unpredictability, while natural, becomes a source of tension when we resist it. Stoicism offers us a way to release that tension. not by giving up, but by shifting our focus to what truly lies within our control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions. Imagine being stuck in rush hour traffic. The scene is all too familiar. Honking horns, cars inching forward, drivers weaving impatiently between lanes. You feel the irritation rising, thoughts racing through your head about the wasted time and the unfairness of it all. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, what part of this situation can you control? You can't clear the roads, alter the behavior of other drivers, or magically transport yourself to your destination. The one thing you can control, however, is your mindset. At that moment, you have a choice. You can fume in frustration, letting each second stretch unbearably as you fixate on what you can't change. Or you can take a breath and reframe the situation. Perhaps you play a favorite podcast, savor a quiet moment to reflect, or simply practice patience. This shift in perspective doesn't clear the traffic, but it transforms your experience of it. You move from resistance to acceptance, and in doing so, reclaim your peace. Stoic philosopher Epictetus provides a practical approach to dealing with life's inevitable unpredictability. Premeditation malorum, or the premeditation of adversity. The practice is simple but powerful. At the start of each day, take a moment to reflect on the potential challenges that might arise. Delays, disagreements, mistakes, or unforeseen setbacks. This is not about dwelling on negativity, but about preparing your mind to face the day with resilience. When these challenges do occur, you're not caught off guard. Instead, you can meet them with a calm, grounded perspective, as if greeting an expected visitor. Letting go of control is not an act of defeat or resignation. It's an act of wisdom. It means recognizing the limits of your influence and directing your energy where it will have the most impact, on your own thoughts and actions. Trying to control everything is like attempting to hold back the tide with your hands. It's exhausting and ultimately futile. But learning to surf the waves, to adapt and respond skillfully, allows you to move forward with grace and purpose. Consider how often we waste our energy wrestling with the uncontrollable. We agonize over someone else's behavior, replay conversations in our heads, or stew over circumstances that have already passed. Each of these moments is an opportunity to practice letting go. Ask yourself, is this worth my attention? Is my reaction helping or hindering me? When you pause to evaluate, you often find that the answer is clear. Most things aren't worth the mental weight we give them. Accepting what you cannot change doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring about your goals or ignore the challenges around you. Instead, it's about focusing your care on what matters most. How you show up in the face of life's uncertainties. For example, if you're working on a team project and a colleague drops the ball, you can't force them to act differently. What you can do is address the issue constructively, adapt your plans, and remain committed to the outcome you care about. In this way, acceptance becomes a tool for effective action, not a retreat from effort. Ultimately, letting go of control is liberating. It frees you from the impossible task of managing everything and everyone, allowing you to direct your energy toward what truly matters. It also lightens the emotional load you carry. Frustration, anger, and anxiety often stem from trying to force outcomes that are beyond our grasp. When you release this need for control, you create space for clarity, peace, and even joy. Life will always have its share of surprises, some pleasant, others challenging. By accepting this truth and focusing on what you can control, you cultivate a sense of inner stability that no external chaos can shake. In the end, letting go of control isn't about surrendering to life's unpredictability. It's about learning to navigate it with wisdom and resilience. It's about flowing with the current rather than exhausting yourself swimming against it. And in this flow, you might just find a deeper strength than you ever imagined. Anger, when left unchecked, can feel like carrying a burning coal in your hand, hoping to throw it at someone else. The pain is yours to bear, even if the hurt was never your fault. Forgiveness, however, is like setting the coal down. It isn't about pretending the burn never happened or excusing the one who caused it. Instead, it's about releasing yourself from the weight of carrying that pain forward. Marcus Aurelius, ever the sage, reminds us, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple yet profound reminder points to the essence of forgiveness. Life offers so much: moments of joy, opportunities to connect, and the chance to grow. Yet, when anger and resentment consume us, these gifts slip through our fingers. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning bad behavior or forgetting wrongs done to you. It's not a sign of weakness or a concession to injustice. Instead, it's a deliberate choice to say, "I will not let this hurt define me." When you forgive, you reclaim your energy and refocus on what truly matters. It's not about erasing the past, but about refusing to let it control your future. Imagine someone you once resented deeply. Maybe they betrayed your trust, hurt you in a way that felt personal and profound. Anger might have given you a sense of control in the moment, a shield against vulnerability. But over time, it likely became a prison, a recurring thought, a weight on your chest, a knot in your stomach. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that prison door, letting you step back into the light. Selflessness lies at the heart of forgiveness, but it starts with being kind to yourself. By choosing understanding over anger, you're not only showing compassion to others, but also extending it to your own soul. Resentment, after all, is exhausting. It pulls you away from joy, from love, from the fullness of life. Forgiveness, on the other hand, creates space for lightness, for laughter, for growth. This doesn't mean forgiveness is easy. It's a process, not a single act. Start small. Reflect on the situation, not from a place of blame, but from one of curiosity. What might have driven the other person's actions? What pain or misunderstanding could have shaped their behavior? This doesn't excuse them, but it can help you separate their actions from your sense of self-worth. In forgiving, you don't have to reconcile or rebuild a relationship unless it feels right. Forgiveness is about your inner freedom, not necessarily mending what's broken. Sometimes, the most compassionate choice is to let go without looking back. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's an act of selflessness, yes, but also one of self-preservation. Life is too short, too precious to spend weighed down by anger. When you choose forgiveness, you choose peace. And in that peace, there's room to fully appreciate the privilege of being alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. In a world that often seems to reward loudness and immediacy, the ability to pause and choose silence can feel revolutionary. When someone insults you, criticizes your work unfairly, or acts rudely, the urge to defend yourself or retaliate can be overwhelming. But what if instead, you simply chose not to react? Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. This delay is more than just a moment of inaction. It's a powerful tool. It gives you space to observe your emotions before they take control and to decide on a response that aligns with your values, rather than one driven by impulse. Imagine receiving a cutting remark from a colleague during a meeting. Your first instinct might be to fire back, to defend your reputation, or to match their hostility. But what does this accomplish? It escalates tension, distracts from the larger goal, and often leaves you feeling unsettled. Now imagine a different response. You acknowledge the comment with a calm expression or even a brief nod. Then continue focusing on the discussion at hand. Your poise not only diffuses the situation, but also reflects your inner strength. Practicing non-reaction doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or becoming passive in the face of disrespect. It's about recognizing that not everything warrants your energy. Silence, when chosen intentionally, is not weakness, it's mastery. When you remain composed, you maintain control over yourself, your thoughts, emotions, and actions. In contrast, reacting impulsively hands that control to others. Consider how often quick reactions lead to regret. A heated response to an insult might feel satisfying in the moment, but later, it can weigh heavily on your mind. Why did I let them get to me? Why did I stoop to their level? By choosing delay, you avoid this cycle entirely. You give yourself time to think clearly and act in a way that preserves your peace and integrity. Sometimes, silence itself is the most powerful response. Words, after all, can only reach you if you let them. When you refuse to engage with hostility, you deny it the oxygen it needs to grow. Your silence speaks volumes. It says, I am not controlled by your actions. I choose my response. This practice of non-reaction isn't limited to confrontations with others. It applies to your internal struggles as well. Negative thoughts, self-doubt, or frustration can feel urgent and consuming. But even here, delay can be transformative. Instead of immediately believing or acting on these thoughts, pause. Reflect on them without judgment. You'll often find that their grip weakens and your clarity strengthens. Ultimately, practicing non-reaction is about reclaiming your power. It's a reminder that you don't have to respond to every provocation or every fleeting emotion. By mastering this art, you not only protect your peace, but also cultivate a quiet confidence that others can't help but notice. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in the stillness of a deliberate, unshaken mind. Who holds the reins of your emotions? Others or you? This question lies at the heart of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. While we can't dictate the behavior of others or the circumstances life throws our way, we have full authority over how we respond. By understanding this, we can reclaim the power that is often unknowingly handed over to external forces. Marcus Aurelius, in his timeless wisdom, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." At first glance, this might seem obvious. Of course, we control our own minds, right? But think about how often our emotions are tied to what others say or do. A harsh word from a colleague, a dismissive glance from a stranger, or a critical comment online can ruin our day if we let it. In these moments, we hand over control of our emotional state to someone else, allowing their actions to dictate our inner peace. Imagine someone insults you during a conversation. The natural reaction might be to feel offended, to lash out, or to stew in anger long after the exchange has ended. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If you react with calmness instead of anger, you reclaim your power. The insult loses its sting because you've chosen not to let it define your emotional state. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending that insults or criticisms don't hurt. It's about acknowledging those emotions without letting them take over. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can take a moment to reflect and respond deliberately. That response could be silence, a measured comment, or even walking away. Whatever you choose, the key is that it's your choice, not a knee-jerk reaction dictated by someone else. Taking responsibility for your emotions also liberates you from blaming others for how you feel. It's tempting to say, "They made me angry," or "their actions upset me." But in truth, anger and frustration are your reactions, not their creations. Recognizing this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about empowering yourself. If your emotions are yours to control, then no one else has the power to destabilize your peace unless you let them. This perspective extends beyond interactions with others to life's broader challenges. Imagine facing an unexpected setback, like losing a job or encountering a personal failure. While the event itself may be outside your control, your interpretation of it and your emotional response are entirely up to you. You can see it as a devastating loss or as an opportunity to grow and adapt. The choice is yours, and the more you practice taking responsibility for your emotions, the more resilient you become. In reclaiming this power, you also free yourself from being a puppet to circumstances. You're no longer tethered to the highs and lows of external validation or the unpredictability of others' actions. Instead, you become grounded, steady, and self-assured. As you master your responses, you'll find that the world around you loses much of its power to unsettle you. Ultimately, this practice is about liberation. It's about understanding that peace and strength come not from controlling the uncontrollable, but from mastering yourself. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you're not just reclaiming your power, you're stepping into a more grounded, empowered version of yourself. Perfection is a mirage we often chase, a shimmering, unattainable ideal that convinces us life should always go smoothly, people should never fail us, and we should somehow rise above every flaw. Yet, Stoicism teaches a liberating truth. Imperfection is not the exception to the rule, it is the rule. Life's natural state is one of imperfection, and expecting otherwise only sets us up for needless frustration and disappointment. Epictetus offers a valuable insight. It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. Take a moment to consider this. It's not the messy room, the forgotten promise, or the missed deadline that truly bothers us. What disturbs us is the belief that these things shouldn't have happened. This belief that people should always meet our expectations, that plans should always go right, is where frustration begins. Imagine a colleague makes a mistake that complicates your work. The error itself is neutral. It's a simple fact of what happened. But if you expect perfection, this mistake becomes a personal affront, a source of irritation and judgment. How could they mess this up, you might think? Why can't they just do their job right? Now, the situation isn't just a mistake to fix. It's a source of emotional distress. But what if, instead of clinging to an unrealistic standard, you accepted imperfection as part of life? When a colleague errs, you might think, everyone makes mistakes, including me, and focus instead on finding a solution. By shifting your perspective, you free yourself from unnecessary tension and allow room for grace and understanding. The same principle applies to relationships. Friends let us down, partners misstep, and family members frustrate us. These moments hurt not because they are inherently unbearable, but because we expect people to always meet our standards. Yet, no one is flawless, not even those we admire most. By releasing the illusion of perfection, we open the door to forgiveness, compassion, and deeper connections. This acceptance extends to ourselves as well. How often do we hold ourselves to impossibly high standards, berating ourselves for every shortcoming or failure? Expecting perfection from yourself is as futile as expecting it from others. The Stoics remind us that progress, not perfection, is the goal. Each mistake is an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve, not a reason for self-condemnation. Embracing imperfection doesn't mean settling for mediocrity or giving up on excellence. It means understanding that flaws are a natural part of existence. By letting go of the need for perfection, you trade frustration and disappointment for patience and resilience. Life becomes less about controlling every detail and more about adapting, forgiving, and moving forward. Ultimately, the pursuit of perfection is a heavy burden to carry. By accepting imperfection, you lay down that weight. You free yourself from the exhausting task of demanding flawlessness from yourself, others, and the world. And in that freedom, you find peace, not in a perfect life, but in a beautifully imperfect one. Stoicism provides timeless tools to help us master our emotions and live with clarity and resilience. By embracing acceptance, we learn to flow with life's imperfections rather than resist them. Releasing judgment allows us to lighten the burden of negativity, while letting go of control focuses our energy on what truly matters, our thoughts and actions. Practicing forgiveness frees us from the weight of anger, opening the door to compassion and peace. Each principle serves as a stepping stone toward inner calm, no matter how chaotic life may seem. The question is, which one will you start with? Share your reflections in the comments below, and let's continue walking this path toward greater self-mastery and lasting peace together. If this resonates with you, please like and subscribe to Daily Stoic Practice and share your insights in the comments. Your thoughts may inspire others on their own journeys to inner peace and resilience. Don't miss our daily videos, insightful discussions, and practical tips for applying Stoic principles to your modern life.